So Paramount just dropped another trailer for their upcoming Dungeons and Dragons film, The Honor Among Thieves, which are calling an epic journey. And I gotta say, it looks really good. There are some cheesy lines of dialogue in the latest trailer, some Led Zeppelin music, which who knows if that's like going to show up in the film. I'm not unhappy if it does. They did a really good job with A Knight's Tale having modern music in it, although it wasn't really quite modern music, but it was, rock and roll as opposed to a medieval soundtrack. I know some people have expressed concern that the Dungeons and Dragons film is going to be more quirky than serious, but I'm okay as long as they can pull it off. But one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it today is because Liam from Liam's Lyceum, aka Hembar, in our Discord actually dropped this in our Discord because of this right here, which is the animatronics that they're using, the actual creatures. So even though they are putting a lot of CGI into this trailer, we also have a lot of actual creature effects. Now, I want to show you a couple of because there is a clip. I have to be careful about how much I show here because Paramount gets really picky about copyright stuff. But they have this mimic, but then they've got this dragon head. Hang on, let me go back again real quick. They've got a dragon head here, and then they follow that up with a fish head, and then this creature right here, which honestly, and then that right there, like an orc. Like, so they're doing quite a bit of really cool features in my mind, features and creatures to bring this to life. So I want to take this back a little bit to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films. One of the reasons that looked so good at the time was because it relied heavily upon the use of actual practical effects. So, all the orcs and the Urukai were guys in masks. It wasn't CGI'd. And then we had sets that were physically built along with bigatures that were used. We had sculptures that were used. It went back to the classic days of, say, early ILM when George Lucas was filming the original Star Wars trilogy and using all of these like physical sets. And there's a great interview with Frank Oz where he talks about one of the sort of it wasn't an argument, but he had a debate with George Lucas about the use of a CGI Yoda versus a physical Yoda. And in the course of that discussion, one of the things that was discussed was the eye will pick up on things that are, CGI much more readily than they will things that are natural, that are built by hand. And so Frank Oz was talking about one of the best tricks of the trade is to always film on a physical location or with some sort of physical props whenever possible and blend the CGI in with that because the eye is more easily tricked into believing that everything you see on screen is real as opposed to when you film it all in CGI or against a green screen and the actors are acting against a green screen or a blue screen, it becomes much more difficult because the eye is there. It feels that there's something off. It's like there's no depth. It's like what is going on here? It just doesn't feel quite right. Now there obviously is quite a bit of CGI use in this trailer, but it's the creature effects that have me excited. And I will say, if you go through this trailer, not everything looks stellar. And like this is obviously a CGI owlbear here, and it looks CGI, but it also looks, kind of good. It's kind of cool. There's another couple dragons though, and all of the dragons I've seen, some of them look good and some of them look kind of not so good. Like this one right here, obviously looks a little. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if it's purposefully meant to look a little gargoyle-y. Maybe that's the intent. But that is a little different looking. I'm not going to critique it yet because again, I haven't seen the actual movie. But I do just love the fact that if you come, to the creatures here, they're doing a lot of actual effects here. I love this guy right here. That orc looks pretty cool too, but it's this bird dude that he gets me every time, like the way his eyes are and everything. It's just really cool. I love seeing stuff like this, and I really do wish more films would focus on doing practical effects like this. Uh, I think one of the things that made movie magic so magical in my mind is knowing that people were building things with their hands. And there's nothing wrong with good VFX and good CGI. I mean, you're definitely still building something, but I think there's an artistry to um, set building and miniature making and the robotics department and the engineering that goes into these things, the painting, the sculpting, that's just not something that can be replicated in my mind within some sort of a digital set or a digital image, because even though you may have multiple people working on that digital thing, I just feel like there's a lot of computer work that happens, computer rendering and all this other stuff to make it look real. Whereas opposed to when you're doing a miniature or a bigature or some sort of prop or a animatronic like this, you have to do it by hand. And so there is this artistry that is associated with that where you're the one making it look real. And how real it looks depends on how talented the people are at doing this stuff and how much time and effort and of course budget is being thrown at it. I don't know. I've watched this trailer a couple of times now. I think it's a fun little look at what this film is shaping up to be. I would anticipate this being something that I don't know if it's going to make tons of money like they hope it will, but I think it will be mildly successful. I like all of the major stars in it. Chris Pine is definitely one of my favorite leads. Um, and Michelle Rodriguez is always fun to watch. I've pretty much watched her ever since she used to have screwed up teeth, all the way back in Lost many, many years ago, before she got her veneers. And she was always the fun, quirky uh, girl on set, and she has embraced that and done a lot of really cool films over the years. She's a very accomplished actress along the way. Um, so I mean, we got a good cast, we got a good crew. We're seeing good things come out of like the prop department, the set building, and everything else. And it does give me hope that they are making a movie in the spirit of Dungeons and Dragons, because this is the most important thing. Because if anybody remembers the film that was made in the 90s, I think it was the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, where Jeremy Irons plays the bad wizard, that Dungeons and Dragons movie, and then the follow-up ones that went straight to DVD, one could argue that those were also made in the spirit of Dungeons and Dragons, but oh my God, were those horrible films. Really, really bad movies. Um, and they tried so hard with the one that came out in theaters, the only one that came out in theaters, which was the first one. They tried so hard with it, and it just fell flat on its face. Um, so, it remains to be seen. But I am hopeful for this. I think we're going to see great things out of it. At the very least, I've seen fun, quirky dialogue, which is something that I like to see in my D&D campaigns, and I like to see in films. I like something that's fast-paced with tempo when it comes to adventure films. And honestly, that's the kind of thing like when I'm watching Willow recently, the new, like, go back to the Willow film. The Willow film is fast-paced, quirky, cheesy dialogue, and it works, right? It's a campy, fun movie. It's not meant to be something that takes itself seriously. It's just a fun film. And then watching the Willow reboot or series, it's not a reboot, but the Willow series that they're doing right now on Disney Plus, it's fast-paced, fun. I was laughing the whole way through. It had cheesy dialogue, campy stuff, some cool effects and creatures as well as CGI. So I think this is being done in the right spirit, and I'm hopeful that it's going to be a lot of fun. Love to hear your thoughts below. Have you been keeping up to date on this production? Because it looks like it's going to be a good time to me. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, support with a membership, super thanks, super chat, or sticker, depending on whether you're tuned in for a live stream or watching an uploaded video. Don't forget the Patreon page. I'll see everybody in the next episode. Peace.